Rise and shine, mothers and brothers and cheese wedges and chin straps and handlebars all over the world. Good morning. It's Rise and Shine, the ride to work. Unplugged today. Gotta groom myself up before I start seeing people. But just get out of the shower today. Hey, let's talk about the perfect phone call in business, or the perfect phone call period when you're chatting with people. I always say God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means you're supposed to listen. And I say this tongue in cheek. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. So here's how to have the perfect phone call in business or personally. Ask this. So what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Tell me about that. These are questions to get people to talk more. When people can express themselves more as opposed to you commenting on everything, what happens is you end up having better relationships in those, and specifically in business. So how's this sound? So when you're talking to a person on the phone in business or hoping to do business, or people that you're just even everyday phone calls, the phrase, if you ask someone, tell me about that. Tell me about that. You ever notice that some people, when they cross the street, they walk slower when they see you? It's like they spot you and then they almost on purpose walk slower. All right, that's my gripe for the day. Perfect phone call. So how does that make you feel? Here's a great question to ask. It gets people to talk more. This is out of this world. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? And people explain to you. They empty themselves out. Here's another great prompter to get people to talk, and it kind of disarms them as well. When people feel that you're not being critical, they like to see a little bit of humility. I know a person that used to say, I could be wrong, and I often am, but, and there's not a lot of clear conversation happens when you say the word but. I would rather, and I was trained in this, I would rather have you say and as opposed to but. A person makes a comment and you go, but, and that means automatically you're disagreeing. It's just like you're just putting your hand up and saying, halt. This is how I feel, or how I feel is more important. And what I'm not doing is, I'm not asking you to agree with people. I want you to help people talk more. When people can express more, you're mentally taking notes. So here's the end goal. Gather data. The more data that you can gather, and it's voluntary data, it's their own words, it's what you're learning from them in order to make a sale or do business with them or have a better relationship with them. Use the word and instead of but. Add to what they're saying. Don't abruptly stop or change the channel or change the direction or outdo them with the word but. I could be wrong, and I often am. I'm not a big fan of that phrase. I would much rather have someone say, I could be wrong, and sometimes I am wrong. And that communicates that you're not a know-it-all. It's not false humility, it's the truth. You don't know everything, and sometimes you are wrong. And on occasion, certain people need to hear that. They need to hear you say that. Here's another great thing. If a person says a statement, and you can tell there's some pain or emotions behind the statement. Like, every time that I go to the doctors, this happens. Or every time I call the cable company, this happens. Or every time I get my cell phone bill, this happens. Or every time, there's times when I I'm trying to reach out to people and it's just not working, or just any scenario. If you feel that they are right, you put a pause in there. You don't respond right away. You're slow to speak. But a way to validate what they're saying, and the goal of all of this is not to validate everybody. You don't need to you are not just a walking, talking validator. That's not your job in life. If a person's right, then it's wonderful that you point that out. If they're wrong, you don't want to be the person that just runs around pointing out people's wrongs and faults either, because that gets old really quick. Driving to work today, man. Got to be alert. That's why I'm not looking in the phone. I do all my recording on the phone. Listen to this statement. Now that I think about it, you're right. Now that I think about it, you're right. Ah, relief on their part. Guess what happens? Bridge gets built. More communication happens. You now are earning the right to sell that person, to talk to them, to have some type of business relationship with them. So let's review the perfect phone call, a great phone call. Tell me about that. Write these statements down on a little card. I got these on a card, and I've had this card near my phone forever. Tell me about that. Question number 1. Question number 2, how does that make you feel? Question number 3, why do you think that is? Statement, I could be wrong, and a lot of times I am. Question number 5, now that I think about it, or statement number 5, now that I think about it, you're right. And then the principle of using and instead of but when you are responding to somebody. Consciously or unconsciously, many of us say the word but. Train yourself, rewire your brain to say and. It makes a conversation nicer. Leadership lesson of the day for a great phone call, since so much of our business and so many of our relationships are based upon phone communication. That's how to have a great phone call. Thank you for watching. I'm George Bruno, also known as the Sultan of Silver. You can find me on Instagram at George A. Bruno. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to do business or training or anything business related. LinkedIn, George Bruno. My website is georgebruno.com. It's a blog. It's interactive. It's not a static website with tabs. It's me doing a lot of writing, and there's a lot of content that's similar to like what I'm talking to you about. And Periscope and Twitter at George Bruno. YouTube as Gray Bailey. I hope you have a great day, man. Get out there and kill it. It's halfway through your week. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. What is your goal? What is your goal? Are you working on it? Is it losing weight? Is it gaining weight? Is it having a house? Is it having a car? Is it having your own business? Is it having a new love in your life? Is it getting rid of an existing love in your life? Those are all worthy goals. You can do it, man. I know you can, because you're awesome. And I believe in you. Have a great day, man.